Hi, my name is Andrew Patterson. I currently work with the FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I'm an area rep in Harford County, Maryland. And I want to dive more into that later after I'm done my talk. But I'm super excited to present to you something that I would say that is so personal to me, because it's something that I fought with time and time again. It's still something that pops up every now and then if I don't put my guardrails up. But it's called breaking the chain of the comparison syndrome, right? Breaking the chain of the comparison syndrome. And so, before we get into this, you'll probably see my eyes go off a little bit just to look at my notes. I don't do slideshows or anything, but I do like to look at my notes to obviously stay flowing and stay organized. But I'm super excited to present this to you today because as humans, we all go through this. This is not something that you can probably say, no, I don't ever go through this, because we are always looking at other people. In our modern age of Facebook, of Instagram, of TikTok, of LinkedIn, we're always seeing people's highlight reel, right? Think about that. If you've ever watched ESPN, whether it be the top 10 or any sport replay, it's always the highlight reel of the best things that are happening. All right, and that's typically what we're looking at. And part of us, the human part of us, like, man, I want that. I want that, right? And so a definition for social comparison theory is the idea that people determine their own social and personal worth based on how people stack against them, okay? Based on how they stack against others, right? And so how many times have you compared stuff, right? Compared the boat, compared the car, compared the house, compared the deck, compared stuff because that was bigger, that looked better, that had better quality, right? We're comparing those things all the time when we walk down the street, when we're driving down the street. When we see other people having a good time, we're comparing stuff. How many times have you compared your status or your clout, right? The position that you're in, the position that you want, the position that that guy or that female has, right? The other thing is authority and power. Sometimes we look at other people's authority and you get power hungry and you're like, I want to be there. I want to be there so I could do this, so I could do that, so I could boss him, so I could boss her. Right? We've all tried to compare with our clout. Okay? How many times have you compared your relationship? All right? Your relationship. Number one, your marriage. America has such a problem with people splitting because we're comparing who we're with. We're comparing how we're with them. We're comparing this. We're comparing that. Right? How many have you done it to your relationships, just friendships? All right, saying, man, I want that type of friend because guess what? That friend has the stuff that I want, right? And so it all trickles back down. And so what about the other thing? The other thing, not only friendship, but mentorships. We always compare mentorships because there are people that have the money to pay top dollar for the top mentorship, but yet we're like, hey, let me do that. I want to speed up my process. And so I'm going to pay the money that I don't have, go into debt, and then try to dig myself back out through that mentor, right? And so now we're trying to dig ourselves out of a hole instead of, never creating the hole and sitting on solid soil. All right, now how many times have you compared your faith? Sometimes we compare our faith, and we try to imitate ourselves to be more holy than we are. Right? We don't want to be transparent. We don't want people to see the negative things of us, so we compare. We do videos of us reading the Bible. We do videos of us in prayer, but yet you're not at that secret place. Right? How many times have you compared that? All right, so one thing that I want to start with is going into the 3 stages of comparison. All right, and through these 3 stages, I want to relay my story of pain, my story of hurt. Because when I start to go through it was crazy. When I was writing down notes, when I was looking through everything, it brought back these these memories. These memories that shape me, but these memories that I just feel in my gut, and it makes it turn. It reminds me, I don't want to go back to that place. And sometimes you got to go to that place to not go back to it. Sometimes you got to go through it to get shaped, to get molded. Even though we don't want to, as much as we want to fight against it, even if it brings us to tears, it shapes us for the individuals that you become, the unique person that you become. Okay? So stage 1 is that recognition stage. All right, this is the stage that now we're seeking. Okay? Say we've started a business. Say we want to turn our lives around. Say you want to axe a habit, or you want to build a new habit. So once you know where you want to go, now it's the recognition stage of, okay, who's got what I want? So we start searching social media, LinkedIn, the news. We start searching for the person that we want to be, not need to be. Right? We're searching for the person that has our wants, our desires. Even if that goes based off of even your core values. Okay? And we skip out on the core values. We skip out on character. Right? All we see is the physical surface things, and we're like, that's what I want. I want to get that. That person has what I want, so that means I got to deep dive into their life. And we forget to see who they are as a person. We forget to see what their definition of success is. We forget to see if they're happy. And I'm not talking about surface level happy. I'm not talking about that award-winning smile happy on Facebook and social media. I'm talking about, are they happy? Are they happy with their family? Are they happy with their position? Are they empty inside? Are they alone? Right? We forget to go over that because that surface level, we're like, oh my gosh, look at that boat. Look at that yacht. Look at all the people that are looking up to them. Look at their impact across the United States. Look at their impact worldwide. I want to have all that tomorrow. So that's the person that I got to find. That's the person that I need. Right? And so that stage 1 is the recognition stage. All we see is the things that we want, and we go for them. All right? And so in my life with stage 1, when I started a business, it was a sports performance business called Parisi Speed School. I found a couple trainers that have been doing it, and I forgot about this. They've been doing it for 10 to 12 years. A couple trainers that are training some of the top athletes in the world. Trainers that have beautiful gyms, that have systems that are just firing on all cylinders. Right? I'm seeing this on social media. They've got thousands of followers. They're getting thousands of likes. I'm like, I want to be there. I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy that when people look up on social media, they're going to be like, oh my goodness, that guy is phenomenal at what he does. All right? And so I'm like, okay, I want to be there. So I found him. And I didn't care. I didn't care how they were like. I didn't care if they were brash. I didn't care if they really didn't have a family, they didn't have values within themselves. You know, some of them had wonderful values. Don't get me wrong. Some of them had wonderful values. But some of them, let's just say the ethics were a little on the gray side. Right? But they had what I wanted. And honestly, guess what? They said, hey, here's 5 easy steps to be a millionaire. That's me. That's what I want. I want to be a millionaire. In 5 steps? Are you kidding me? I'm going to be a millionaire in like a week? Okay, let's do this, right? And so I identified them. That's it. It was surface level identification. Surface level identification. Right? And so now let's trickle into stage 2. Because now you identify the person. Now it's time to connect, and so we call this connection stage. So I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to connect with this guy. I'm going to send a message. I'm going to listen to the podcast. I'm going to read his book. I'm going to dive into the content that he's posting on social media, on YouTube. It's time to just dive on in, right? And so we're just taking that time to connect because guess what? Once we find their secret, we can fast forward, right? We don't have to deal with the hard stuff. I get to fast forward it because this is the roadmap. This is the answers to the test. I'm doing a lot of air quotes. I apologize, right? Air quotes are exciting. But this is the answers to the test. You're telling me I don't have to study? You're telling me that if I follow these exact steps, that I'm on my way to being successful. I'm on my way to being a superstar, right? And so then we follow these steps, and we forget to put guardrails up. So think about that. We're connecting, but we're not putting up guardrails. We're not seeing who that person truly is. We're forgetting all about who we are. So when you connect with them, and not to mention when you connect with them and they actually answer back, oh, you're hooked. Because it's like this person that's got a bunch of followers, I'm sure, are messaging him every day. And guess what? You get through. And now you feel like you're on cloud nine. It's like, oh, that's the first step. I'm only a couple steps away. All I got to do is mimic exactly what this guy or woman is doing, right? And then I'm finally going to be on the trajectory that I've been earning, that I've been pushing to be on. But we try to fast forward the process. And in that process is the molding, is the shaping. In that process is where we discover who we really are. We find out that this works, this doesn't. This definitely doesn't work, but that led me to this, which works. And we want to skip through that, and I understand, because it is painful, right? And the main thing that I always say is when you get stung by a bee, it always hurts when you first get stung. When you first get stung, that's when it hurts the most. And so for me, right, I identified the guys that I look up to, who I want to be, who I want to grow my gym to be. I identified them, and now I'm diving into their stuff. Matter of fact, one guy answered me. I was like, are you serious? Like, this guy is hard to even get a hold of just to train, like, just to give him money. And I got a hold of him. You know, and so now I'm asking these questions. You know, I'm diving in. And I'm starting to lose my thoughts. And I started replacing them with other people's thoughts. It was weird. I didn't think of it at the time until stage 3, but in stage 2, I'm like, I'm not as hungry as I was. I don't have the same fire, but I feel like I gotta do this because this guy right here is crushing it. And he's always on. He's always pumped. He's always ready to create something new, and he's got so many different ideas, and it seems like that they're all very successful, and that every path that he takes is golden. So that's why I'm energized, right? Because I get to take golden paths eventually. Then stage 3 hits. Imitation stage. This stage makes you feel empty, alone, crushed, worthless. The list goes on and on. And I think I'm so passionate about that because that's where I was. You know, I worked out, there was a church that opened their lobby, and I was able to work out of it. It was awesome. It was great. But I remember I pulled up to the parking lot. For some reason, I just I opened my phone, started surfing the web, And once again, I saw greatness at a facility, and I wasn't there yet. I put the phone down. I put my head on the steering wheel and just started to cry. Because I felt like I wasn't bringing enough money for my family. I was no longer happy. I was alone. I was alone outside of my home, sometimes inside of my home, but wasn't because of my wife, because it was me. It was me. I felt like this was a mountain that was impossible to climb. I couldn't understand why I wasn't a millionaire in week 1. Right? But I just remember feeling absolute despair. Because I was trying to be someone I'm not. Right? And something, it pops into my head. It's hard for God to make you who you are if you're looking at someone else in the mirror. Right? It's hard for God to make you who He made you to be if when you look in the mirror, you're looking at someone else, not you. Right? And so one of the verses that hit me so hard, all right, is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. I'm going to read it to you real quick. And so it says, "Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think." All right? We're not called to copy people. We're not called to copy people. We're called to change the way we think. And that's going through the hardships. That's going through the tough times. That's what we're called to do. We're not here to be that guy. Right? It's not like you ever see those rows of houses to where in the neighborhood, it's like a Twilight Zone. You see the same exact build, the same exact structure, the same exact everything. God didn't make people to be like that. He didn't build robots. He built beautiful people like you. He built unique people like you. But during this phase is when I felt the lowest. Because I tried to copy everything in my life. And so when I tried to copy everything in my life, there was no flavor to it. It was tasteless. Even if I imitated it. But I didn't have any ownership. It didn't come from me. There was no ownership for that. It was just copying and hoping it worked. And so when fruit is tasteless or it's bitter, what do you do with it? You throw it out. Because if you keep eating it, you're going to continue to cringe. It may upset your stomach. But in this stage, when you've pushed everything to the side, you become who you're not. And your life begins to circle and spin out of control because, matter of fact, how do you control something when it's not yours? How do you control a life that's not yours? That's like saying, hey, I'm a pilot. I'm going to get in this plane. I'm going to fly it. Then you look at every control and you're like, I don't even know how to get this thing started. And that's where we're at sometimes. We're trying to start a machine that we don't even have the qualifications to start. And that's something that we need to realize is it takes hardship. I'm always going to repeat this. It takes failure. It takes grabbing life by the horns and learning the way everybody else learned. The school of hard knocks. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. There are so many people. You want to surround yourself with people who are driven. People who has been there before. But also people who can keep you grounded. Not these one-trick ponies. People who are happy. People who love where they're at, have a clear definition of success, align with your values, and don't try to tear you down, but uplift you. That's not comparison. That's building a team. That's building a structure. I don't want you to confuse that with don't have anybody else in your life. Don't compare. Don't let that person, don't want to be like that. There's very positive comparison. We're gonna go through that. But I want to hit you with some midway questions, right? We dove into the 3 stages of comparison, right? I don't even care if you're by yourself. I want you to raise your hand if you've been through any of those stages. Raise your hand, do a little fist pump, right? Because today, we are going to drop that habit. We're going to drop it, right? Like Tyson in round 1, boom! But we want to drop that habit, and it's going to take more than one day. I want you guys to understand that when you're trying to break a habit, it doesn't happen in seconds. It doesn't happen in days. It doesn't even happen in months. All right? It takes time. It takes doing the little things right constantly. All right, and so let's go through the midway questions. The way that this is going to line out, it's about 4 or 5 questions. I'm going to ask the question, and then I might give about a minute and a half, all right? I want you to write down the question. So I'm going to say it and then repeat it. I want you to write it down. And if you can, try to do little quick notes, all right? Because obviously when this is done, I want you to go back through it, and I want you to really, really dive even deeper. But right now, write little quotes that come to your mind, or little words that come to your mind, little phrases that come to your mind. I'm going to give you a couple minutes in each question. All right? And so question 1 is, have you ever changed your vision because it didn't sound good enough for the people surrounding you? Once again, have you ever tried to change your vision because it didn't sound good enough for the people around you? All right, so I'm going to give you about a minute. Right now, go ahead and think through it. All right, write it down. Really ponder. Think about how you've been affected. Think about where it's taken you. Think about the feelings that pop up when I ask that question. Okay, we're going to give it about another 20 seconds. Another 20 seconds. And as we wrap up this question, I'm going to kind of explain a little bit what I mean by that question. All right, about 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so what I really mean by that question, and that's why I want you to dive deeper into it later on, is have you ever wrote a vision but then heard somebody else's and you're like, wow, that sounds so much better? And you're like, well, if I present to someone, people aren't going to be like, wow, what an elaborate vision. That's beautifully articulated. And then you start changing it. And then have you ever realized that when you start to change it, you can't quite get what you want, and you go through 26 different versions, when probably that first version that you wrote down took you 10 seconds because it came from here. Because it came from the heart. That came with passion. But we change it because we don't want people to tear it apart. All right, okay, so question number 2. What is holding you back from starting or finishing? I'll repeat it. What is holding you back from starting or finishing? Okay, so let's give it another minute. Write down that question. Continue to write some words that pop in your mind. You can do a bullet point list. But what is holding you back from that starting phase? What's holding you back from finishing that project? That finally you'll feel great to just offload. Something that'll really set the trajectory of where you want to be. All right, get another 10 seconds, another 10 seconds. Okay, so, what I mean by that is a lot of us, we freeze up either in the start or the finish. We freeze up because we're afraid of failure, and that works in both cases. We don't even start because we don't want to fail. We don't want to finish because we feel good with what we've done so far, and we don't want to get to the point to where it can get critiqued or judged. And so where in that spectrum are you falling? Are you afraid? Are you stuck? Are you thinking about how someone else did it and how successful they were and how what you're going to do is going to pale in comparison to them, at least in your mind, at least in what you're thinking? Because that's huge. That is a huge thing that I know just that goes through the noggin. All right, so let's move on to question 3. Why are you allowing other people to be your puppet master? Let me repeat it. Why are you allowing other people to be your puppet master? Once again, write that question, start thinking through it. What does that look like? Think about Pinocchio before he was a real boy. Right? There were strings. It would make him dance. It would make him eat. It would make him sing and move around. It would make him jump. It would make him run and then make him walk. It would make him bow. Every piece of life for Pinocchio was controlled. All right, so I'm going to give about another 10 seconds. I'm going to talk a little bit about that question, because I want you to go even deeper into that question. Right now, these are just bullet points that you can go back and reference to. Okay? So, what I mean by that question, but the Pinocchio analogy. All right? People's opinions are their strings on your life. Every opinion forces you to make another move. The opinion of your diet isn't very good. So then you start to research diets that you hate, that you know you're going to fall off of because it's not what you want. It's the same thing with your business. I wouldn't do it that way. So that opinion adds another string, right? And then when you go to fill out paperwork, I wouldn't do it that way. Oh, here's another string. Then you go to, maybe you want to dress a certain way. I wouldn't dress that way. Another movement. Right? So think about that. Every opinion starts to make a new movement until finally you're just stiff and you're letting everybody operate what you do. You're letting people dictate how you run your business that you were passionate about. Now your life is controlled. Okay? So, this is 4th question, but it's 2 parts. Okay? So I want you to imagine this. Imagine if you never could ever get criticized. Imagine if there was no judgment in this world. I want you to answer these 2 questions. 1, how would you define personal success? Number 2, what is your vision for your life and your business? Your vision. So once again, number 1 is how would you define personal success? And what is the vision for your life or business? All right, so start to go through those. Do some bullet points. Think about it. And really get emotional with this, guys. Because imagine this. What if I told you that all these things that you're writing, I want you to write them and then crumple that piece of paper up and throw it out so nobody can see it. Because I want you to see, I want you to understand that you have something buried deep inside of you that is a fire. A fire that's ready to be ignited. A fire that is ready to just roar. So I want you to do bullet points and then later on, go detail, go deep into it. Understand yourself. Love yourself. Meet yourself. Like I said, even if you go deep, throw that piece of paper out. You want to know why? Because you don't have to remember it. You want to know why you don't have to remember it? Because it's right here. Because it's always been inside you. All right, so I asked those two questions about success because sometimes our success is determined by other people. We see the highlight reel on social media and we're like, that's what I want. That's success. Right? We think stuff is going to make us happy, but we forget about everything else. We forget that those people who have that stuff are empty. Who, when the camera shuts off, they're alone. The only time they're not alone is when that camera's on, because they know thousands of people are watching it. But then when that camera's off, they're alone. So what is success to you? Is it happiness? Is it not having debt? Is it enjoying a family? Is it having a successful business? Is it truly having money? Some people, it is their motivator. But is that money going to make you happy? Right? And the vision part. Dream big, guys. Right? When we were little kids, oh my gosh, I remember when I was a little kid, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the NFL. I'm gonna do this. There was nothing holding me back. Then life starts to beat us down a little bit, right? We start to meet people that say, hey, that's a dumb idea. What? There ain't no way. Right? And so we get so torn out that we forget our childlike wonder. We forget to be creative. We forget to enjoy life. We forget to turn a box into a rocket ship. Right? And these are just things that we forget when we get older. And so we forget that we can have a vision for our life, for our loved ones. Because we're comparing to the world. We're not comparing to our home. We're not comparing our heart to ourselves. For me, I need to compare myself to the Father. All right, and so remember, I want you guys, I'm glad we did. We went, you wrote quick words that are going to set reminders for you. But after this, I want you to deep dive. I want you to get nitty gritty. I want you to get emotional. I want you to dive deep, look that person in the mirror and say, hello, my name is, or I've missed you. All right, so let's go over to the 3 positive stages. 3 positive stages now of comparison. What? You were telling me this whole time that comparison is bad. Now you're going to give me 3 positives? Yes. All right. We've got to go through the positives because you got to surround yourself with a team. Don't be lonely. It's lonely. Don't be lonely at the top. Everybody that says it's lonely at the top, it's because they didn't bring people with them. All right. So let's go back up to someone we look up to. Set the guardrails, guys. Figure out who you are, right? What are your values? What is your character? What do you believe in? What stage are you in of your business, right? And know who you are. Know the types of people that you need. Like, there are some people that I axed out because they were so far in advance that they really didn't remember what it felt like to start again. They didn't remember what it's like to be at the level that I was at. Right? And there's always times that you might get to that level and find those people again. But you also have to know where you are in life, where your business is. That way you're not comparing, but man, you're feeding. You're feeding, right? And so like my favorite thing is you always hear, hey, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's not. But yet we always seem to think that the grass is greener on the other side. But realistically, the grass is greener where you water it. So where you're standing, water that grass, right? And the water that you're using could be the people that you're connecting with. Water that grass. It's your yard. There's no point of trying to find another yard when your yard could be just as beautiful, when you can make it your own thing. Okay? And so now we get to that connect phase. All right? Learn people's background. Learn about them. Maybe if you do connect with them, have the conversation. Have the conversation of, hey, what's your family life like? Are you truly happy, and what makes you happy? Was it, who are you with? Who do you surround yourself with? Right? Because some of these little things, like one of my favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because it teaches you how to be a human being. When you're being a human being that loves people, that cares about people, that listens first, speaks second, or listens twice as much as they speak. Right? All these things are on this journey, but if you find someone that has those values, when you connect with them, learn about them. Don't just come over and say, hey, I want you to be my mentor. Let's go make me a millionaire, baby. Because there's some mentors that will say, yeah, let's do it. And they'll dupe you. And there's other mentors that say, here, walk beside me. Right? When you're walking beside someone, you're not comparing now because they're to the side of you. You can't see exactly what they're doing. But if you always keep them above you or in front of you, then you can always see their movements. And you're like, I want to mimic that. Right? There's wonderful personalities that, yeah, you do want to learn from them. But think about this. Look at the principles, not the details. Because the details part is their life, not yours. The details part is their struggles, not yours. The pits they fell into, not yours. You know, maybe someone can help you swerve from one pit, but maybe there's another one right to the side. And that's what I said earlier. We got to go through our own struggles. We can't keep comparing to people. Some people's holes are deeper than ours. Some are more shallow. Right? And so we can't be stuck in that constant comparison. So if we learn about the person, once again, listen first before you speak. Learn about the person. Love that person. Let that person see who you are so they know that you're unique. That they can't transform you into who they are. Right? You've got to be transparent with people. Don't just say, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever. I'm willing to sacrifice who I am as a person. Don't be at that level. Don't be there. Okay? And so now we go to the imitation stage. But guess what? Remember, these are the stages of positivity. So we're going to wipe away the imitation word. And we're going to replace it with the word uniqueness. The third stage is uniqueness. This is an opportunity to be who you are. This is an opportunity to take those principles and fit them in like puzzle pieces, right? Because it's your puzzle. We always like to try to put our pieces in other people's puzzle when it doesn't make sense. Because they already have a picture set, but we're trying to jam our pieces into their puzzle. Or we're trying to take their pieces and jam it into our puzzle. All right? And so, I want to dive back into Romans. Romans chapter 12 is like such a business chapter. As crazy as it sounds, right? And so it is verses 6 through 8. It says, in his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. What? God's given us our own unique gifts? That's mind-blowing. All right? So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. Speak out with it. That is your talent. Pour yourself. Right? If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it is to give generously. Right? And there's obviously a little bit more to that, but create self-awareness, everyone. Create self-awareness. Be aware of who you are as a person. Who are you? When you look in the mirror, who are you? What do you have to offer? What is your value to the world that nobody else can give because it is so unique to your personality, to your drive, to your passion, to your fire, that when you wake up in the morning, you're hungry. You're hungry to give value, to give yourself, to help elevate other people up. Because when you elevate other people up, you get elevated. Every time. Right? And so self-awareness is so big. Like for me, I tried to steal other people's morning routine. I saw their morning routine. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds wonderful. I want to do that. That sounds energetic. That sounds exciting. Right? But then I'll say I tried like 5 different people's morning routine. Guess how many times I failed, guys? 5. It wasn't mine. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to wake up 4 in the morning. I did it once. I was like, I don't even feel good right now. I don't want to work out 5 in the morning. I don't like to work out 5 in the morning. So what am I doing? You know, I'm looking in the mirror in the gym saying, what are you doing, bro? Right? And it's the same thing with what I filled my mind with. Fill my mind with things that really weren't relevant to what I was doing. But hey, their morning routine sounded awesome and they're successful. Right? So I had to develop my own routine. My routine is alone time with the Father. My routine time is meditating on the Word. My alone time is praying for people. My alone time is drinking that sip of coffee. Maybe watching just some inspirational sermons that just really hit me hard. Because my job, it's ministry. So why wouldn't I do that? Right? And that's what gives me comfort. The other thing is that block of time, right? What's your best hours to work? And I want to go through that in a couple minutes, all right? And so one of my favorite quotes, right? I love this quote. It's so simple. It's by Oscar Wilde. It said, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. Think about that. Be yourself because everyone else is already taken, guys. You can't be the same person. As much as you want to try, as much as you don't want to embrace the suck, you got to. You're you. You are intelligently made. You are beautifully made. You're you. So now I want you to take the time, right? We've gone through all of this. Take the time, guys, to sit back, close your eyes. Breathe, because I want you to picture the following things. I want you to picture a chain being shredded. I want you to picture a chain just being ripped apart and debris flying everywhere. I want you to picture it. Okay, I want you to listen to my voice. Imagine that you gain the self-awareness because now you've shredded the habit of comparing to other people. So imagine you having your own personal morning routine. What does that feel like? What does that feel like, having your own personal morning routine that sets you up for possibility? Think about your most productive hours. Right? Imagine being free to know that you work your best 4 hours to this time block and you'll get so much done that later that night you're able to hang out with your family and not feel guilty. Go on that vacation. You'll be able to discover your expertise, who you are as a person, what you have to offer. You'll determine your schedule. Determine your schedule, depending on what position you're in. And you'll be able to redefine success and be proud of who you are. Be proud of your happiness. Embrace your happiness. And know that you have the world at the palm of your hand because you're so unique. All right, guys, so I want you to go through this and really reflect. Look in the mirror. See who you are. It's a gut and heart check. See who you are. Find out about yourself. All right, once again, guys, my name is Andrew Patterson. I'm with the FCA. I'm always looking for people to join the support team. I'm always looking for people to want to learn more about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and how we impact the youth community through sports and how we impact coaches in order to be wonderful leaders, to be great mentors to our kids. My information will be on here, and I look forward to connecting with you. You guys have a beautiful and great rest of your night.